When it comes to the impact of food, I think we can all agree that different food has different impacts. However, other than that, it doesn't seem like there's much we can agree on. For example, when it comes to beef, many will say that beef is the worst food item for the planet in terms of carbon production, water use, land use, and resource use, while others will argue that much of the evidence behind this theory is not accurate. So, which is it? The answer may actually be both, and in this video, I'm going to show you why. Almost every argument against the consumption of beef shows a chart that looks something like this. The chart shows various food items and the climate impact to produce 1 kilogram of each food. It also shows how each stage of a particular food supply chain contributes to its total impact. So for example, here is the total carbon impact to get 1 kilogram of tomatoes, and here is the total carbon impact to get 1 kilogram of potato. Not only do these two food items have a different impact, but where exactly that impact comes from in its supply chain is different as well. The supply chain impacts included here is everything from land changes, farming, feed, processing, transportation, sale of food, and packaging. Basically, it's everything required to create that food and get it to you. As you move down this chart, you see the impact of each food item rising, and all of a sudden, beef appears and its carbon impact is towering over all other food items, with several of its individual supply chain stages being larger than the entire impact of other food items. While this data is completely valid, it doesn't tell the full story. The values shown in this chart are based on average conditions from farms around the world. This means these numbers are biased towards the most popular farming conditions, and the impact of farming can change drastically based on how farms are managed. For example, a large part of the impact of beef is caused by land use changes, which means land is cleared of all its vegetation to make land available to grow corn and soy to feed cows. As this happens, there is less vegetation available to remove carbon from the atmosphere, and some carbon is also released as the soil is disturbed. The issue with the data in this chart is that it's biased to show the impact of just that: cows raised on corn and soy feed. However, not all cows eat corn and soy. In fact, cows don't naturally eat these foods at all. Cows have only started eating these and other foods in significant quantities as humans have begun to feed it to them in order to produce larger cows at a lower cost. In a more natural setting, cows eat grass and other vegetation they find while grazing. This means for cows that are allowed to graze naturally and find food off the land, the massive impact of clearing land for cow feed is completely avoided. If cows are allowed to graze in a managed way, they can feed off of the land without completely destroying it. Under this farm management system, cow manure is left on the land to contribute to plant growth, which the cows can then eat. For these cows, little to no fertilizer or feed is needed, which lowers the impact of beef significantly. In fact, this process is so efficient that one study found you could potentially have a net reduction in carbon emissions from eating pasture-raised beef as a result of all of the newly grown vegetation that wouldn't have existed without cow manure and proper management. While this is just one study, it shows something very important. That is, as always, sustainability is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and beef is no different. Beef can definitely have a major impact on the climate when raised outside of its natural habitat and natural diet. The further cows are raised from their natural habitat and diet, the more energy and resources are needed to make up for where nature is lacking, causing its impact to become higher and higher. Also, raising beef off the land and allowing it to eat a diet that is better suited and closer to its natural habitat is also more humane. These cows avoid a lot of the negative issues associated with our current food system, and they are often happier and healthier. This often makes them healthier for humans as well. On the topic of nutrition, another reason why this chart fails to show the entire story is that beef contains many nutrients and vitamins that either cannot be found in non-animal products or are found in much lower quantities. A major reason why the debate about beef is so important is because we need to create the most sustainable food system possible. This means creating a food system that is best able to meet our nutritional needs with as little impact as possible. However, these charts often show food production based on mass, not nutrition. When I take this into account and modify this chart with nutrition data, things start to look a little bit different for the relative impact of beef. For example, in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, beef is actually an efficient way to get zinc and certain B vitamins, and this data is based on cows with all of the farm management issues mentioned earlier. If we consider beef from regenerative sources, beef would be the most efficient way to obtain nutrients. However, even cows raised with less of an impact would significantly improve its carbon to nutrient production and even make it less impactful than many other foods. Water consumption is also a highly debated topic when it comes to the impact of beef. When cows are raised in this way, Not only is significantly less water required since no feed needs to be grown, but if done properly and in suitable locations, little to no irrigation is needed as well. This is because plants are being managed properly and their roots are allowed to grow deeper into the soil and develop healthier root systems that retain water. In other words, I think that this chart is a better representation of the failures of our global food system rather than a representation that all beef is bad. While this video could go on much longer about the failure of our current food system and how poorly we capture the range of its impacts, the point is the same. Beef and all other food items that are grown in the right way will have a lower impact. If you're not able to obtain these foods from proper sources, you may want to cut them out of your diet or at least lower your consumption of them. Many of these foods may be more expensive now, however, we must vote with our dollar to show food suppliers that we want change. Again, sustainability is not a one-size-fits-all approach. The impact of an item or an action for you may be different than it is for someone else. If you'd like to learn more about living the most sustainable lifestyle for you, check out these videos next. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, let me know by clicking the like button and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.